And we're here on the very rustic porch of Pendower House, one of the iconic gay accommodations at Daylesford. And Daylesford is the centre, as we know, of Chillout, and we're here 2008 with the special guest of Chillout, Adam Sutton.
Hey guys, how are you?
How are you, Adam?
Very well.
Welcome to Ben TV, and welcome to Chillout. I believe it's your first time at Chillout?
First time at Chillout.
Yeah, so have you been starting to do quite a few of these sort of gay festivals and events and things like that?
This is the first biggest one I've done.
Yeah?
Especially in, rural sort of aspect. We've done things with the gay lesbian Mardi Gras in Sydney, but this is I feel more at home doing events like this in the rural aspect of Australia.
The real aspect of Australia, as opposed to the cities, which you think are a bit white.
Well, look, they can be. I think things get a little bit blown out of proportion in the cities. You know what I mean? But everyone flocks to the city to see all the hype of it all, and come to places like this keeps things a little bit more not so hyped up, a little bit more down to earth, and a little bit more, I'll say real. But you get a different crew of people in a rural part like this. It's different when you're in a place like this and you walk outside and you smell the fresh air and the flowers and the trees and the bushes, and there's animals outside, horses and cattle, and it's just a whole different ball game.
Makes you remember what's important, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Brings you back to the basics of life. You know what I mean? Being able to appreciate a sunset and watch the stars and little tiny things like that.
Yeah, we forget about all these things.
Yeah.
Did you go to Mardi Gras?
Yeah, went to Mardi Gras.
And were you there in any official capacity or just having a good time?
Yeah, well, we're in the middle of filming another Australian story, and we were there we were lucky enough to be on the veranda with Olivia Newton-John with her and 10 or 15 of her friends, so we had a private veranda with her.
As you do.
Yeah, we do. So yeah, it was pretty special. Last year we led the parade with Rupert Everett, and this year we were on the balcony with Olivia, so I've been quite privileged both years. But it was the first year that I actually sat and watched the parade.
Yeah.
It's only the second parade I've ever been to.
Oh, okay.
And the first one was leading it, and the second one we watched it. So, cool.
That's a way to introduce yourself to it, isn't it? To lead it. What the hell?
Yeah. So I've been pretty lucky, Well, I think, I just feel privileged to be able to leading the parade to represent, the community as a whole, and also to represent the rural gay Australians, give them a voice, which there wasn't really. The city gays always got a voice, but to represent the rural part of Australia and show them that they have a voice too, and it's not just being gay is not just city based.
No, we forget about the country in general, don't we?
Yeah.
In the city, not only the farmers, but let alone the gay population. We forget the whole kit and caboodle, don't we?
Yeah. There's a lot of times people in the city they revolve around their 4 blocks, and you take them out of that 4 blocks and they're lost. I don't know where they are.
Totally. Yeah. So being a country boy at heart, even though you're born in the city, country boy at heart, do you still, you've become a bit of an icon, a bit of a representative, as you say, for the country queers. Do you still get a lot of correspondence, feedback, and from guys in the country who are struggling? Yeah,
tons.
Yeah?
I must have, ever since doing all this, stuff we've done, must have, I had well in the vicinity of 500-600 letters, and I probably received about 4 or 5 last week since this new edition of the book came out. A new flood came through, and it's just when you start to hear these stories of these guys who've spoken to nobody, and they're speaking to me about it. I'm responsible for that in a way, and I've got to, acknowledge what they've told me. But it's also hard to take on board when you're dealing with that many people. But I know that my story has made a change in their life and has given them confidence in themselves, and creating a bit more, confidence in themselves to be able to acknowledge who they are and stop denying themselves these things. But especially in a country rural aspect, it's sort of the way of life is very embedded. It's like we run the farm and mum and dad did this, and you come up under the family tree and you get a house, and it's that culture's very embedded there.
So you say you are responsible, to, I assume you answer every single letter you get and really take that on.
I've tried to, as you get them, there's some that are very important letters. Like I've had quite a few that have been near to suicide letters. So I respond to them and get in contact with those people. A lot of them are just letters of appreciation for telling your story and what it meant to them. There's a lot of letters that have come from guys that have got certain questions to ask, and how did you get through this? And there's been a lot of letters from guys that have been married with kids, and have gone that whole story, and then realised, what am I doing? And they're totally unhappy, and they're really hard questions to answer, and I feel for the pain that the whole family's got to go through in that regard too, because there's kids involved, and there's a wife involved, and this person involved, and sometimes I feel like shit, what have I done? But either way, there's pain involved. With these people that have never been able to be or accept themselves, and they're growing in this hatred inside themselves, and it's a hard thing to ever put an answer on and fix straight away.
Well, at least they've got you as a sounding board where they didn't before, as big a responsibility as that is.
Yeah.
You're starting to hear more positive stories from the outback. Is there more positive gay stories, or is this...
No, well, there are a lot more positive stories now, because the book that we've had in the Australian Story that came out was able to be read and seen by parents and grandparents and brothers and sisters, and the story that I portrayed there reflects in just about every gay person's life in some regard, and that their parents and grandparents, which I've also received letters from, have now understood their children better, and their kids better, and sometimes their kids can't actually tell them that and have them listen correctly, but when they see it portrayed through another, there's a lot. And the beauty of it in the Australian Story is my parents are able to accept and acknowledge me and still show the love, and it's an example, sets a good example for other parents and other relatives of people in that position, and it's not a choice that we make.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, everyone's on their own little journey, and everyone has a different path, and everyone goes through different traumas and experiences, and it's just learning about them, and not letting those experiences drag you down. You've got to learn from them, and take, in every negative there's a positive, and in every negative there's a learning, and as long as we can learn from it and step up and forward, and that's the main thing we've got to do.
Things all pretty hunky-dory with your folks now?
Yeah. They started off a little scratchy when it first happened. It's it's a big bombshell to drop, and Mum told me that she didn't want me around, didn't want me in the house, and I wasn't ever bring friends around and all this. But she's a pretty understanding lady, and is quite religious. So there's when you combine that and religion with it as well. There's a few boundaries that have got to be sorted out, but she knows now that I'm happy, and I'm not lying to them anymore, and that's the next hardest thing. Is like every day before you come out, we're lying to ourselves, we're lying to everybody around us, and that hurts inside. I mean, you can't give out love to someone you're lying to on a daily basis, and you can't accept them properly. And once that you come out, your life changes, because you're able to be you. But it's also another whole new world you've got to learn about too, because you've been the master of disguise, and then and then you come out and you learn about your emotions, you learn about your feelings, you learn about love, and you learn about your inner self.
Yeah, we really are stunted in a way, aren't we? I mean, you don't tend to learn about the basics of emotion until your 20s often.
Yeah, and then you get people not coming out until in their 30s and 40s, and then they start to accept their emotions and the way they feel, and not deny them.
Indeed. Oh, it's fabulous. I mean, you talk about, things... Every positive has a negative. I mean, you've probably squeezed more tumultuous events into your life, in 30-odd years than most people do in their whole life, you know. I mean, you did have a stint in prison, for all those who read the book will know. Do you think that was actually a positive in some ways?
Well, it was. I mean, it was a massive life-changing experience for me, to have the responsibility of, ending someone else's life and causing that person's whole family that pain, and... I had to turn that around. That was probably my darkest few days, where I decided, I took myself to the top of a mountain. I thought, I can't do this. I I have no answers to this, and I want my road to end. Because I couldn't face my fears, and I couldn't face those challenges, and it was all too much for a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
And but it was from that day I stood up and faced all my challenges and all my fears, and just progressed through them one at a time, and found all those positives and all the negatives that was overcome me, that I thought that I was going to end it all, and started to make a change and make a difference.